This is the St.Clair River. We're in Sambre, Ontario, a small community about midway between Sarnia and Wallaceburg. It's barely spring, March 26th to be exact, and we're here to videotape a day of underwater diving on a wreck or two located nearby. Conditions are near perfect, and it promises to be a good afternoon. Don Gordon has brought his boat and dive team from Sarnia to take part in today's dive on the Wolfe, a wooden schooner of the mid-1800s that lies beneath the frigid waters just south of here. The man behind this dive is Norm Scott. Norm has lived in the area for many years. A good number of those years were spent locating some 57 underwater wrecks. He explains the nature of this dive to the two divers, Terry and Bob, and the crew leader, Don Gordon.
This one is the William H. Wolfe, the other one is the Badger State. If we look at a sideways view of it, so you can get an idea what to expect, if this is the contour of the bank, or the river bottom, that wreck will be sitting about like this, with the prop back there.
It's washed out underneath?
No, I'm just trying to designate that this is deeper than this is. There's been a sandbank built up at the bottom of this. It actually comes right up into the wreck. At this point, we're down about 65 feet. The wreckage on the north side is very treacherous. At the north side, there's beams crisscrossed, there's spikes sticking out of them, there's steel plate that's flat, sitting horizontally. You can't see it coming. It can bust your mask, it can make it really nasty for you. So based on that, I think what we should do is anchor north of the wreck, drift down over top of it, and put you down on the south side. The south side, you work your way along the hull, up the bank. This is only about 35 feet deep here. You can get some shots of the triple expansion engine and go down around and look at the prop. Then if you want, take a dive on the north side before you go in with the camera cable so we don't get it ripped apart, because there's some real nasty current there. You've got all the force of the current coming on the Canadian side of Fawn Island, and that is catching the face of that ship. It's hitting it and it's going straight up.
We've lucked out today. Usually the St.Clair River is jammed with pack ice from Lake Huron this time of year. Ice flows that funnel down the river and jam the channel up for days, bringing navigation almost to a halt. Fortunately, it's been cold with little wind to cause ice breakup, so the river is quite clear. And an added bonus for us, fair weather.
Like, I can place you pretty well where you want the anchor down, and use that to place the ship here over top of the wreck.
You figure we'd get about midship on it?
I think that'd probably be as good a way as any. Then you can winch yourself upstream afterwards for the filming of the north side.
I don't want to winch if we can avoid it. I'd rather let the diver do all that he can down there.
Okay.
Because I don't want to bust the line, like bust the anchor hold out.
Oh, okay.
With him on bottom, because then we got a diver dragging down the river, and
that's right.
We won't have that.
The current of the St.Clair River flows at a brisk 6 knots. It's necessary to head the boat up into the current and drop 2 anchors, one fore and the other aft, to stop the boat from fishtailing in the swift current. A few sizable floes compound the situation as they slide quietly by. Once the diver is down, they could cause problems with the airline, camera, and intercom cables. Our divers, though, are well protected from the chilly water with their thick woolen underwear and dry suit, and including full headgear.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'm on.
The early morning sun paints a peaceful picture as the wreck of the Wolfe awaits just below the waterline.
reason we dove this time of year is because the algae that remains in the water, which inhibits your vision, was at its minimum at that time. As well, there was no boat traffic stirring up the sediment on the bottom. The suspended particles in the water make it very, very difficult to film when you're using artificial light as well.
Okay, you're at the wreck, you figure? I figure there's some beams crossed here.
What do you figure your depth is, Bobby?
50 feet, 60 feet. What are we looking at now? I'm on the inside side. You're on the inner side of the north side of the boat, is that right? That's correct. You're coming up on the boilers right now. Watch yourself, there's a bunch of chain down there, you don't get wrapped up in it. I won't, Roger.
The biggest problem in the St. Clair River for diving is the hazardous currents, because you have currents that are very treacherous, because the St. Clair River is, as you know, a fairly narrow river, not a real narrow river, but you've got a lot of gallons of water coming through there, and there's a lot of eddies and back currents and all kinds of problems in there. The water averages between 45 and 70 feet in some spots. It just makes it quite treacherous to dive.
This boat started out as a three-masted schooner. It was built in 1868, and it was refitted, I believe, in 1896, and she was converted to steam. They put a prop on her, a triple expansion engine.
Watch your umbilical on some of that debris down there, buddy.
Roger.
When they were running the steam engines, they would run it in 3 different stages, the high pressure, intermediate, and low pressure. And the low pressure is about 2.5 feet across in this. We'll be seeing it coming up shortly. This was all riveted joints. There was no actual welding in those days.
Visibility in these waters is a respectable 3 to 4 feet, not Bermuda. You literally have to walk into something before you see it. It's quite possible to be 6 feet away from the wreck and miss it completely.
Okay, this is about the keel line. Did you say this is about the keel line? Yeah, right at the bottom. There appears to be a log wedged in there along the bottom. If you keep taut on that line, you'll come to the propeller shortly. Yeah, Roger. I'm on a very steep incline right now. How deep would you say you are now, Bob? It's hard to say, probably about 50 feet or so.
The Wolfe is one of the better known wrecks in this area. Divers from the Michigan and all over Ontario have come to dive on this particular wreck, partly because of its size and partly because of the fact that it is one of the older vessels. The wooden vessels are much more interesting to dive on than the steel vessels, in my opinion. When you dive on a steel vessel, all you see is miles and miles of steel plate. When you dive on a wooden vessel, you've got to consider that all these massive planks and beams were put into place by hand. They didn't have the cranes, they didn't have the technology we have today, but yet they built vessels that in many ways outlasted the steel vessels of today.
Traveling up the wreck. Keep traveling up the wreck. Pan it up a little bit more, Bobby. Could that be a pump, Bobby? What's that? Could that be a pump? A pump? Yeah, it could be. You want me to bring it up? We might be able to use it. No, I think I'll pass on that one, Bobby. That looks like a generator, if you ask me.
The William H. Wolfe sank in 1921 in Sturgeon Bay in Lake Superior. I believe it was November. The cargo was offloaded in that year. The following season, they came back and they floated it and were taking it to Detroit for a refitting. The vessel had 2 men on board at the time. They had the boilers stoked and one of the boilers blew, killing both the men. She then was cut loose and she went aground on the west bank of the St.Clair River just below Sombra.
Yeah, that's a generator. Probably a steam-driven generator, Bobby. Yeah, that's good stuff. Keep going. That's a rod in front of you there. Is that right? To your right-hand side? Yeah, that there's a rod. That's the back to your left again. Oh, that's the cooling piping for the water jackets there, Bobby. Yeah, roger. Okay.
In the middle 50s, the wreck became what was determined to be a hazard to navigation, as well as many other wrecks along the St. Clair River. And several people were deployed to dynamite the upper structure on these wrecks. Don Lee of Sombra did several around the Corunna area. However, I don't know who actually demolished the top section of the William H. Wolfe. Now, what was left of her were the, as you see in the film, the triple expansion engine. A lot of the hardware from the vessel has actually gone into the caved-in hull. The chain falls, the windlass, and a lot of the piping is all there, excepting that it's not in its original position due to the demolition job that was done on her. The William H. Wolfe was a 385-foot steamer that originally was a sail vessel, to my understanding, and was converted at a later date. The types of cargo she carried ranged anywhere from lumber through to automobiles.
Okay, come on up then, Bobby, and try and get the top of the engine. Okay, come up nice and slow. Nice and slow, come on up.
Hey, Bobby, there's what we want right there. Go into the hub, and we'll get a picture of that hub all the way and go out to the end of the blade.
You alright? Yeah, I'll be alright. Just a minute. What are we looking at there now? Is that the hub? Yeah. Okay. So that's the strut and everything on there. Is that a Roger? What's that? That's the stern bearing and strut on it? Yeah. Okay. We'll take a look at that. Okay, Bobby, that's the hull of the ship. Is that a Roger? That's correct. That's the planking right there where it's rotted away? That's correct. Okay, what's that? It's oh, that's a blade. Yeah, okay.
Go up a little higher on the blade. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, keep going up it. A little bit more to the right. Try and get the look down the edge of it. You understand what I'm saying? Like that? Yeah, that's what we want. Come up on it. Keep coming. Looks good. Looks real good. Nice and slow. Keep coming slow. That's the end of the blade. Up, go up a little higher on the blade. Yeah, that's it. What's that into, Bobby? Wood. Oh, the hull of the ship is collapsed onto it. Is that a Roger? That's a Roger.
Bring it down on the camera. Keep coming down. To the right.
Pan up a little bit.
That's the beach.
She's quite a wreck, ain't she? This is the dive boat Gordon calling for Lowell Dalgetty.
Go ahead.
Yes, Lowell, we're just going to be bringing our diver up now. Can you get a hold of Rufus Jacobs and let him know that we'll be there in about 45 minutes to an hour?
So it'll be 1:30 or 2:30 before you're there, right?
Quarter after to 2:30.
We'll call him right now, Norm. If there's any change, give me a call.
All right, thank you very much, Lowell.
After a short jaunt, we found ourselves in the Acart Channel, at a location known only to Norm Scott and friend Len Crone. What we found came as a surprise to the rest of the crew.
Starting to get more current now?
Hey, Jerry, try going towards the west from there, please.
There we go. Nice and slow. Pan over to the wheel there, Terry. Keep coming around. Well, pan over to your left there a little bit more. There.
The second dive we made was made in the Acart Channel. The exact location is known only to Leonard Kroon and myself and a few other divers. Suffice it to say that any other divers that want to go and look for it are welcome to dive the entire length of the Acart Channel.
Keep coming up. Nice and easy. Just come up with it, Terry, when you get a chance. Okay, Terry, take a look around there on those spokes. Go on the, not on that, go on the other far. Okay, that's it. Keep coming around. Really nice. There you go. Yeah. Just like that. I broke that. Maybe it wasn't that. I broke one of them off. Okay, keep coming down.
The remains that we found on the bottom indicated that it was probably settlers moving from point A to point B, probably during the War of 1812, trying to escape the battles that were taking place along here at that time.
Back up there. What is that? Is that the bows of the wagon? Hang on a sec. What is that we're looking at, Terry?
It's part of the yoke assembly, I believe. This is the steering arm.
Okay.
And it rides on this, between this.
Oh yeah, okay, that's good, yeah. Keep, continue on. Bring it up a little bit on your camera. Okay, come into it. Bring your camera up. Turn to the right. Right. Oh, right. Right. Bring it up nice and easy now. Can you pick it up?
You want me to pick this head up?
We want to bring it up.
Roger.
Bring it up there. Hey, Terry, can you bring that surface?
Roger.
Stand up with the camera a bit. There you go. You got it. Okay, bring it up.
There's the head. Oh, look at that!
Well, Len, if it hadn't been for you, I never would have heard about this site. And the fact that we found it, I suppose this skull should be yours to put up outside your house.
Nice. We'll hang it up in the menagerie.
Just one more thing for you. Then we got, where's Terry? Come on up here.
It's almost fossilized.
Does it look any different up here now?
It does. A lot different.
He thought it was a wagon wheel.
This fella's teeth are falling out.
There are several theories as to who it was and how that wagon got there. We found only what was visible. The real story of the ox and wagon lies buried in the mud. Government legislation prevents a thorough study at this time, but Norm and Len have a theory or two of their own.
We feel that probably what occurred was that the wagons were going along the ice in the wintertime, and the ice gave way and the wagons fell to the bottom. The one cart we found had overturned, and the wheels were up in the air. The oxen skull had the horns embedded into the bottom of the river.
According to the myth, this was a Baldoon wagon. That is before we dove on it. And the Baldoon settlement started in 1790 and was wiped out during the War of 1812 when the Americans did a forage and took everything the Baldooners had.
However, future dives are planned, and we will hopefully unravel this mystery.
Whether or not it's the Baldoon relic, which I doubt, because the Baldooners would have had Red River carts, which were meant to float and would not sink. I think it's a little later than the Baldooners, but it certainly is interesting. Oh, there's no question it's in the early part of the 1800s, just the point where Red River carts went out and replacements came in.
What part is that there, Terry? Oh, that's the tongue on it?
Yeah, that's the support that goes across.
That's the spokes, yeah. Come out on that. Come to your right on that, Terry. Okay, come up. Keep coming up. Nice and easy. Close up on it. Close up on it. Keep coming. There you go. Keep coming. Okay. Shine your light down in there if you can.